A structure in the Atacama Desert, long dismissed as an eccentric art installation, has just transmitted a high-frequency data burst directly to an Iranian military satellite. Is this the opening move in a new, undeclared war? And was it activated by one of the West's own tech billionaires? The world is now on high alert. At 0200 hours Zulu, a signal of unprecedented complexity was detected, originating from a privately owned quadrant of the Chilean desert. The source: a sprawling installation known publicly as the Atacama structure, the brainchild of reclusive tech magnate Alastair Thorne. For a decade, Thorne's project was labeled a monument to human ambition, a non-functional sculpture. That narrative shattered 4 hours ago. The signal, a 5-second burst on the 22.9 GHz band, was not random. It was a targeted, quantum-encrypted handshake with the Noor-3, an Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps intelligence satellite. The connection lasted mere moments, but the implications are permanent. A direct, covert communication channel now exists between a private facility in the Western Hemisphere and the command and control apparatus of the Iranian regime. Western intelligence agencies are in a state of shock. The structure was a ghost, hidden in plain sight. Alastair Thorne is now the most wanted man on Earth. He vanished from his Geneva estate approximately 12 hours before the transmission. Swiss authorities have confirmed his private jet departed without a flight plan. Its transponder is inactive. He has disappeared. Left behind is a single, chilling message to his staff. The monologue is over. The dialogue begins. The immediate fallout is severe. Oil futures have jumped 4.2% in pre-market trading. Defense contractor stocks are surging. The Straits of Hormuz, a perennial flashpoint, is now under an unprecedented level of satellite and drone surveillance by the United States Fifth Fleet. Every transmission, every movement is being scrutinized. The structure itself is an engineering nightmare for intelligence services. Spanning 1.6 kilometers of desert floor, it's too large to be dismantled quickly, and too robust to be easily disabled from the air without catastrophic and unpredictable consequences. Early analysis suggests it is powered by a network of small, subterranean geothermal vents, making it entirely self-sufficient and off-grid. It cannot just be switched off. The question every world leader is asking is not just how this happened, but what was in that first message. Was it a test? A transfer of critical data? Or was it an activation key for Iranian assets already in place across the globe? The silence from Tehran is absolute, which is more terrifying than any threat. This is the 3-minute rehook. The data burst was not just a message. It was a key. Analysis by the National Security Agency's Cryptology Division indicates the signal's quantum string was designed to unlock a dormant software suite. What does this mean for you and for global stability? It means that every secure military and financial network that uses standard AES 256-bit encryption is now potentially vulnerable. The key Thorne sent could be the master key to a backdoor. Iran has spent years embedding into global digital infrastructure. This is not theoretical. At 0315 hours Zulu, less than an hour after the Atacama transmission, a U.S. Navy Arleigh Burke-class destroyer in the Persian Gulf, the USS Mason, reported a total communication blackout for 90 seconds. Its AEGIS combat system, one of the most advanced defense systems on the planet, was unresponsive. The incident was officially logged as a system-wide diagnostic reboot. But the timing is too coincidental to be ignored. Intelligence sources within Mossad report that Thorne had been flagged as a potential security risk as far back as 2018. He had made extensive, quiet investments in firms specializing in quantum computing and satellite technology, many of which had direct or indirect links to Chinese and Russian state-owned enterprises. He was a known associate of several high-level Iranian diplomats, meeting with them under the guise of philanthropic endeavors. The warnings were dismissed as the eccentricities of a reclusive billionaire. The working theory inside the Pentagon is that Thorne is not merely a sympathizer. He is a true believer, a technological ideologue who believes the global power balance, dominated by the United States, is a threat to human progress. His final gambit is to provide a rival power with a weapon that bypasses conventional military superiority, a weapon of pure information. The Atacama antenna is that weapon's delivery system. Its unique design and geothermal power source suggest it can generate signals powerful enough to disrupt other satellites, or even act as a directed energy device. The initial 5-second burst may have been low power, but military analysts fear the structure is capable of generating a sustained energy pulse that could cripple low Earth orbit infrastructure over the entire Middle East. This would blind the United States and its allies at the most critical moment. The Chilean government is in crisis. They have dispatched a special forces unit to secure the perimeter of the structure, but they are in a precarious position. The land is privately owned by Thorn through a series of shell corporations. Any direct military action by a foreign power on Chilean soil would be a declaration of war. Diplomats are scrambling, but the clock is ticking. The antenna is a loaded gun, and Thorn's finger is on the trigger from an unknown location. This is the 6-minute rehook. The economic implications are now cascading through the markets. The threat of a compromised global financial network has triggered an automated sell-off in the tech and banking sectors. The Nasdaq Q is projected to open down over 600 points. What this means for your investments, your retirements, and your savings is that digital security is no longer a given. The very foundation of trust in online commerce and banking is being tested. We are witnessing the first global crisis of the quantum age. The immediate focus for CENTCOM is a single U.S. asset, a highly classified signals intelligence facility located in the Negev Desert, designated Site 512. This facility is the nerve center of U.S. electronic surveillance of Iran. It is believed to be the only installation capable of both tracking the Noor-3 satellite and potentially launching a countermeasure electronic attack. The problem is, Thorn knows about Site 512. His company, Thorn Dynamics, was a key contractor in the 2016 upgrades to its core processing systems. He didn't just build the antenna. He may have also built the vulnerabilities in the shield designed to protect against it. This isn't just a conflict. It's a meticulously planned ambush on a global scale. The architect of the weapon also holds the blueprints to the defense. At 0540 hours Zulu, a second signal is detected from the Atacama. It is different. Shorter. A single, sharp pulse lasting less than a microsecond. It is not directed at the Noor-3 satellite. Analysis from NORAD confirms the impossible. The signal was directed downwards, into the Earth's crust. It was a seismic pulse. Simultaneously, alarms are triggered at Site 512 in the Negev. It is not a communications blackout. It is a physical security breach. The ground sensors on the southern perimeter are all tripped at once. The drone overflights show nothing. There are no vehicles, no intruders, just the empty desert. Then, the lights at Site 512 go out. All of them. The entire facility, which runs on an independent, military-grade power grid, goes dark. The backup generators fail to engage. The entire nerve center for monitoring Iran has just been blinded and deafened, thousands of miles away from the Atacama antenna. The pulse was not an earthquake. It was an instruction. The pulse was not an earthquake. It was an instruction. But how? How could a signal fired into the ground in Chile black out a hardened military base halfway across the world in Israel? For hours, this question paralyzed analysts at the Pentagon and the NSA. The answer they found represents not just a new type of weapon, but an entirely new battlefield. The seismic pulse didn't travel through the Earth's mantle. Thorn's team had mapped the planet's tectonic plates and fault lines, realizing they could use them as a massive, organic data cable. The pulse used the Earth's own resonant frequency as a carrier wave. It was a message, delivered not by radio, but by geology. And its recipient wasn't a computer. It was a technology Thorn's company installed 6 years ago, buried deep within the foundations of Site 512 itself. They were called resonant receivers. Dormant, shielded, and powered by microscopic fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field, they were designed to do one thing: wait. Wait for the specific, impossibly complex seismic frequency that would awaken them. And what did they awaken? The real Trojan horse. A swarm of autonomous, subterranean micro-machines. This is why the ground sensors went haywire. It wasn't an intruder on the perimeter. It was thousands of them, rising up from below. They moved through solid concrete, as if it were water, severing the primary power conduits and the encrypted backup systems with surgical precision. But cutting the lights was just the beginning. How do you fight an enemy that's already inside your walls? An enemy that you cannot see? Their primary mission is not destruction. It's theft on an unimaginable scale. Right now, inside the darkened, sealed corridors of Site 512, these microscopic machines are infiltrating the central servers. They are not hacking the system. They are physically disassembling it, accessing the quantum data platters directly, and transmitting the raw information. Where? Back to the Atacama antenna. It's a two-way street. The structure is no longer just a transmitter. It is now the world's most powerful receiver. It is pulling trillions of bytes of America's most sensitive intelligence on Iran out of the ground in the Negev. What took decades for the CIA and Mossad to collect is being stolen in a matter of minutes. The commander of Site 512, Colonel Eva Rostova, has initiated Protocol Zero, a complete physical lockdown and data purge. The final failsafe. She has ordered her engineers to trigger the facility's thermite charges, to literally melt the server cores and turn the entire intelligence archive into a molten slag of metal and silicon. It's the only way to stop the broadcast. But the drones are fighting back. They are not just data thieves. They are saboteurs. Reports from inside the sealed facility, relayed over a single remaining hardline, describe the drones disabling the electronic triggers for the thermite charges. They are actively preventing the United States from destroying its own secrets. This isn't just a heist, it's a strategic repositioning of global power. Thorne isn't just stealing the US playbook on Iran, he plans on giving it to Iran's newest allies, via the Noor 3 satellite. Once the data is fully uploaded from Atacama, the antenna's next pulse will transmit the entire archive, every asset, every weakness, every covert operation, to the Iranians. It will be the single greatest intelligence disaster in American history, orchestrated by one man and a signal sent through the very ground beneath our feet. But what if blinding the US military wasn't the goal? What if the data theft from Site 512 was just a diversion? Because the resonant frequency Thorne used had a harmonic, a second signal, hidden inside the first. And it didn't activate microdrones. It activated something else, something far older and infinitely more dangerous. Buried during the Cold War-era upgrades to the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, Thorne's company installed what they called a sovereign key. Not a swarm of tiny machines, but a single, monolithic device fused directly into the bedrock and hardwired to the core systems of NORAD. The sovereign key is a physical override. It doesn't hack the system. It hijacks it at the most fundamental atomic level. The data theft in Israel was never the main event. It was the cover. It was the global distraction designed to fix the world's attention on the Middle East, forcing the US into a defensive crouch while Thorne's real weapon came online, unnoticed. While America's best minds were focused on containing an intelligence breach, they failed to see the attack on their very senses. The sovereign key has now severed the connection between NORAD's sensors and its command. Thorne has seized control of the nation's eyes and ears. He can now create ghost fleets on radar, erase incoming ballistic missiles from the map, or trigger launch warnings for attacks that aren't there. This was never about giving secrets to Iran. It was about making the very concept of ground truth obsolete. Thorne hasn't just stolen a playbook. He has blinded the referee, drugged the players, and rewritten the rules of the game in a language only he understands. He has created a new world order, not through armies or bombs, but by becoming the sole gatekeeper of reality itself. The greatest crisis is not the one you can see coming. It's the one that convinces you there is no crisis at all. The age of tectonic warfare has begun, and the first battle was lost before anyone knew it was being fought. To understand what happens next, and to see the threats no one else is showing you, you need to be watching. Subscribe to global_crisis_radar, because the real battlefield is the one you don't know you're